Hello, everyone, and welcome to Daily English Talk. My name is Emily, and today I want to talk with you about something very simple, very normal, and very real: the weather, and how people actually talk about it in everyday English. You know, when you're learning English, it's easy to think that real conversations are all about big topics, opinions, or complicated ideas. But in real life, most conversations start much smaller. They start with something easy, something safe, something everyone shares. And very often, that something is the weather. People talk about the weather without planning to. It just happens naturally. You're walking into work, meeting a neighbor, sitting down with a coffee, and someone says, "It's really cold today," or "Looks like it might rain." There's no pressure in that moment, no right or wrong answer, just a shared experience. And that's why weather is such a powerful topic for English learners. You don't need advanced vocabulary, you don't need perfect grammar, you just need to sound relaxed and natural. Most of the time, people don't describe the weather in a very exact or technical way. They don't say numbers or temperatures unless they really need to. They say things like, "It's pretty nice," or "It's kind of gloomy," or "Honestly, it's way too hot today." These phrases are vague, flexible, and very human. What's interesting is that weather talk is rarely just about the weather itself. People almost always connect it to how they feel or what's happening in their day. So instead of simply saying, "It's raining," they might say, "It's raining again, and it's really killing my mood," or "It's raining, but I actually don't mind it today." That little personal touch is what makes the conversation feel real. Weather also gives people an easy way to complain together. And complaining about weather is incredibly common in English-speaking cultures. When it's hot, people talk about how uncomfortable they feel. When it's cold, they talk about how they can't stay warm. When it rains for days, they say they're tired of it. And even though it sounds negative, it actually brings people closer. There's something comforting about knowing someone else feels the same way you do. Another very common thing people do is compare the weather. They compare today to yesterday, this week to last week, or this season to another season. You'll hear things like, "It's much warmer than it was yesterday," or "I thought it would be colder today," or "This winter feels longer than usual." These comparisons don't require complicated language, but they make you sound more fluent and more natural. People also exaggerate the weather all the time when they speak. Not because they want to be dramatic, but because that's just how spoken English works. When it's hot, it's never just hot, it's insanely hot. When it's cold, it's freezing. When it rains heavily, people say it's pouring. This kind of exaggeration adds emotion and personality to your speech. Another important part of weather conversations is the forecast. People love talking about what the weather is supposed to do later. You'll often hear phrases like, "It's supposed to rain this afternoon," or "It's supposed to be sunny all weekend." The phrase "supposed to" is very useful because it shows expectation, not certainty. Everyone understands that the weather doesn't always follow the plan. In many places, people describe the weather as unpredictable. That means it changes quickly and doesn't always make sense. You might wake up to sunshine, get rain at lunchtime, and see blue skies again in the evening. When that happens, people usually laugh and say something like, "The weather has no idea what it's doing today." Seasons also play a big role in how people talk about weather. People complain about summer being too hot, winter being too dark, or spring being too short. Others talk about how much they love autumn because it feels calm and comfortable. These opinions come up naturally and don't need deep explanation. Weather is also one of the best tools for small talk. Small talk isn't meant to be deep or meaningful. It's just a way to create connection and avoid awkward silence. And weather is perfect for that because everyone experiences it at the same time. If you're in an elevator, waiting in line, or sitting next to someone you don't know very well, a simple comment like, "Nice day today," or "This weather is crazy," feels completely normal. The other person will usually agree and add something small, and just like that, a conversation begins. There are also a few expressions related to weather that people use without thinking about them too much. For example, When someone says they're feeling under the weather, they're not talking about rain or clouds. They're saying they don't feel well. It's a soft, polite way to talk about being sick or tired. Another expression you might hear is come rain or shine, which means something will happen no matter what. These expressions aren't necessary to use right away, but understanding them helps you feel more comfortable when listening. The most important thing when talking about the weather is not trying to sound perfect. It's about sounding real. Listen, react, agree, and add something small from your own experience. That's how conversations grow naturally. So the next time you're not sure what to say in English, don't panic. Just look outside. The weather is already there, giving you something to talk about. And as you keep listening and practicing, these kinds of conversations will start to feel easier, more natural, and more comfortable over time. That's the goal. Not perfect English, but confident, relaxed communication. As you spend more time listening to English, you'll probably notice that weather often appears in conversations, even when it's not the main topic. People mention it casually, almost in passing, and then move on to something else. And that's actually a very important detail because it shows you that weather talk doesn't need to be long or dramatic to sound natural. For example, someone might say, "It's finally warming up," and then immediately continue with, "I think I'll go for a walk later," or "I'm glad I don't need my heavy jacket anymore." The weather becomes a bridge to another idea, another plan, another feeling. That's how it works in real life. You'll also hear people talk about weather when they're talking about the past. They might remember a trip and say, "The weather was amazing the whole week," or "It rained every single day, but we still had fun." In moments like that, weather becomes part of the story, part of the memory. And sometimes people talk about weather almost like it has a personality. They say things like, "The weather is being nice today," or "The weather is really annoying lately." Of course, the weather doesn't have feelings, but this way of speaking makes English sound warmer and more human. Another thing that's very common is using weather to explain your behavior. If someone asks why you stayed home, you might say, "It was raining all day, so I didn't feel like going out." If someone asks why you're in a good mood, you might say, "It's such a beautiful day, I couldn't help it." These explanations feel natural and don't require much effort. Weather also shows up a lot when people talk about clothes. You'll hear sentences like, "I didn't dress warmly enough for today," or "I wore the wrong shoes for this rain." Again, it's simple language, but it reflects real life and real experiences. One interesting thing about weather conversations is that people often don't agree, and that's completely okay. One person might say, "I love this heat," while another says, "I can't stand it." One person enjoys rainy days, another finds them depressing. These small differences in opinion give conversations personality and movement, and you don't need to argue or explain yourself deeply. A simple, "Yeah, I get that," or "I'm the opposite, actually," is enough to keep the conversation friendly and flowing. You might also notice that people use weather as a way to slow things down. When life feels busy or stressful, talking about something simple like the weather can feel grounding. It brings the conversation back to the present moment, to something everyone can see and feel. For English learners, this is good news. It means you don't need to search for impressive words or complex ideas. You already have access to the topic just by existing where you are. As you practice, try to pay attention not only to the words people use, but to the tone. Weather talk is usually relaxed, casual, and low pressure. There's no expectation to be clever or interesting. Just honest. If you ever feel stuck in a conversation, weather can help you restart it. A short comment like, "It's getting colder lately," or "The days are getting shorter," can open the door again. And from there, the conversation can naturally move in many directions. Over time, these small moments add up. The more you listen, the more you'll recognize patterns. The more you speak, the more natural it will feel. And one day, you'll notice that you're talking about the weather without thinking about it at all. That's usually the moment when learners realize they've made real progress. Not because they know more grammar, but because they feel more comfortable, more relaxed, more themselves. And that's exactly what I want for you. So keep listening. Keep noticing how English sounds in real conversations. And don't underestimate the power of simple topics like the weather. They're often the doorway to real communication. If you're enjoying this kind of calm, natural English and you want more episodes like this, make sure you subscribe to Daily English Talk. New episodes come out regularly, and they're all designed to help you feel more confident and comfortable with real spoken English. Thank you for spending this time with me. Keep practicing, keep listening, and I'll talk to you again very soon.